Hello everyone, I am Hanis Jana Kamarudin from the Faculty of Information Management, University Technology Mara, Malaysia. Today's presentation related to the development of oral history collections development, moral and community aspects, and the importance of trust. This presentation will discuss the ethical consideration in recording community oral history collections based on the experience of expert informants, oral history practitioners, and cultural institution professionals. This presentation also highlights the possible strategies to overcome the trust issues in developing community oral history collections. Basically, there are three main parts of the presentation, beginning with general overview for ethical considerations and strategies. As I mentioned before, the data collected from those groups of peoples, the expert practitioners or history practitioners and cultural institutions professionals. Their point of view are very important and significant in providing the guidelines to engage with community in a better way. We'll begin with communications. Since oral history requires two-way communication. Communication skills are essential for dealing with people, especially the potential interviews. As we know and notice, anyone involved in oral history projects usually surround themselves with the potential narrators through informal discussion or conversation, which develop to establish valuable oral history resources. An ice-breaking conversation is needed to develop trust, acceptance, and mutual understanding between the interviewees and the interviewers. Why do we need to develop trust? Okay, some of the members within the community who are chosen as interviewees, they are afraid of being misinterpreted and feel insecure if they provide information to someone who they are not familiar with or considered as an outsider. As been highlighted by one of my research participants, say the interviewees, act like that because they think we are going to manipulate their heritage information or exploit them. That is why it was hard for them to cooperate. Okay, as you see, these issues can happen anywhere, whether it is come from rural areas or urban area. The trust needs to be developed before we get more information from the narrators or interviewees. These pictures were collected from different groups of people. Okay, that is very interesting. From here, we can see that the process of identifying the background of interviewee will contribute to greater engagement during the actual interview session. So based on the result of the interview session between I and my research participants, it shows that most of the interviewees preferred setting up an interview or history session by one-to-one. Yeah? Evidence from the interview also revealed that ethical aspects are significant for building oral history collections. All the background research about the proposed interviewees is one of the important aspects to be considered by the interviewer before any oral history project is conducted. Now we shift to the 4 ethical considerations. What are they? Basically, there are 4 ethical considerations. We go one by one. Purpose of documentation and publication agreement, cultural considerations, appropriate people selections to represent the community, and appropriate procedures applied. So the first one, the purpose of documentation must be clearly explained to any potential interviewees. Okay. The ethical consideration which include publications of oral history outcome and how the oral history recordings to be processed in the future. It must be clearly understood by the interviewee. The publication aspects depends on the mutual agreement between the interviewee and interviewer, as what have been highlighted by the research participants. Yeah? He said that in that case, I will ask the respondent first, or the interviewee, whether he agrees or not. I will remove the part that he requests from the whole transcriptions. However, if he agrees, I will include everything. I think it is important to know the chronology of his narration. So, what are the strategies that can be used by the oral history practitioners like us? We have to be clear with the sensitive content. If let's say the interviewees want us to filter it, so we have to have the understanding or the mutual understanding. Yeah? We have to consider, and then the reflections of the meaning. We have to ask the narrators to ensure this is actually what he or she meant. Yeah? We gather the narrator points of view. And then we produce a comprehensive findings and authoritative evidence. And before the oral history collections published, the decision on what stories should remain private and cannot be published need to be recognized. Point B, or point number 2, cultural considerations. People who get involved in oral history need to be aware of the differences in habits, language, traditions, and even gestures. These elements are also considered as a challenge. It takes some adapting to the customs and rules of particular place. Disrespecting customs and showing ignorance of the local culture should be avoided in documenting oral history. This is also part of the important elements to increase the trust from the community. For experienced oral history practitioners, they have less problem. They are able to manage the ethical aspects with common sense compared to a new practitioners. Okay, this is what have been highlighted by research participant 3. He said, I think it depends a lot on personal experience itself, then personal belief itself, personal culture itself. It's not easy to ascertain. So this is the more experience you have, the more you know about the culture of certain community that you engage with. Okay, what are the strategies for cultural considerations? The interviewer could assess the readiness of the interviewee as to whether it is suitable to conduct the interview. So it depends on the timing and the conditions. Like you should see whether they are ready to tell the story. Yeah? And those sensitive questions need to be filtered to avoid uncomfortable conditions and unnecessary arguments between us and between the interviewees, yeah? Between interviewees and interviewers during the interview session. For example, here, this is experience from the oral history practitioners. Usually, interviewees are not interested in answering sensitive questions. They might be afraid to provide answers. Next, for oral history practitioners from the cultural institutions, or we say that cultural institution professionals, they should have the proper engagement technique, be more flexible, be more friendly, without focus on the bureaucracy or too much process involved. Yeah. Okay, let's have a look at the point C, sorry. Appropriate people selections to represent the community. Accurate facts gathering is essential to reduce or avoid misconceptions about the community involved. Okay, like getting the right key speakers to represent the community who are well versed about the subject discussed will allow proper and convenient communication between interviewees and interviewer. Within a community, there could be a different points of view, different political ideologies and internal conflicts. So we have to be flexible. We have to choose wisely the people who can speak on behalf of the community, so that from there we can build up the trust. More people, if you are using a snowball sampling, we choose from people A and then move to people B and C, so we can get more people involved in the oral history project. Some of the interviewees join oral history interview session not because they have point to share, but rather to gain attention. So this is why we need to have filtering system. We filter who going to get involved with the oral history project. Okay, this is quite interesting point from one of the practitioners. He said that now people do something to gain popularity. They want to appear on the television and in newspapers. Most of the people want to become more glamour, get people to know them. Okay, sometimes they don't have content or story to tell, but they want to get involved because they think it can bring their name to become more popular within the community. So what are the strategies to find or to select the right people to represent a community? The first one, interviewers should verify and carefully select the interviewees, and some of them will not be the best people to represent a community, and they could create biased points of view. The chosen interviewees should be someone who can recall and represent stories on behalf of his or her community. Okay, again, the key points here is meeting the right people. We have to do some such homework, find people. And then people who are involved in our history or any other related activities. Okay. This could be someone who are knowledgeable, who has good memory. Look at institutions. This is what suggested by the culture institution professionals. She find the right people. Maybe to look through the institutions to see in a couple of years who has been consistent, who has been seriously doing some work on preserving the language and trying to get groups to become interested. This is an example how to find people who have knowledge or quite experience to contribute in the oral history collections process. Next, we shift to appropriate procedures applied. As highlighted, sometimes when you conduct interview sessions, you need to have different kind of sessions rather than only one time off. Through several meetings, gaps can be reduced. Interviews become more comfortable to give more input and share the whole stories. This is also one way to build up the trust from the community. This is the example highlighted by the research participants. Okay, and then other than that, we can provide explanations to the interviewees before beginning an interview sessions. I like to highlight the important points here. Ethics, while speaking with them, what are the languages that could be applied? Then you need to explain to them, if you are doing recording, are you edit the contents and how you transcribe it? We need to inform them. If possible, you give them a draft of questions before the actual session. Okay, so they get a general point of view. They have confidence in engaging with our project. Shift to strategies. Yeah, Basically, we need someone who knows the background of the community, which could explain the culture of the community before any topic is explored. Insider, we call insider. No matter in what areas, the technique is known as preliminary research. So before we go to the research field, we need to gain empirical information. We have to understand the theory about community, theory related to setbacks among a community, the theory about the boundaries, all need to be understood. From conducting preliminary studies, in-depth information is gained and will be useful to connect with other facts. Okay, the last point for appropriate procedures, we should prepare interview transcripts and verifies with interviewee to reassure that what has been spoken during the interview is accurate. And this process is vital to avoid reporting a false statement from the narrators. Before I end my presentation, I'd like to highlight what had been mentioned by the oral history expert, Boyd, in 2014. He mentioned that the archival community must work together with the community to explore, adapt, and innovate in order to better serve our mission of preservation of and access to our histories. With that, thank you for listening. Stay in touch and stay safe. Take care and see you again.